Cade Horton, who I think we've talked about it before, just how great he's been. We've obviously been keeping track of him since the beginning of the year, but I was watching our friends over at the Bleacher Nation Cubs podcast earlier, and they were talking about, is it, really going under the radar, just how good he's been. And I think the answer is yes to that. He has been exceptional. And there are a lot of numbers to back that up. But I was looking at, something earlier from Aaron Layton on Twitter. Righties against Cade Horton in his last 6 starts, hitting just 104, 173, 167 against Cade Horton. And I think for me, Brennan, I'll let you break down kind of what he's doing and, his repertoire, et cetera. But we talked earlier in the year about how him and Ben Brown, really, they're different, very different, but they need to grow just as pitchers at the major league level. And a lot of that includes making your pitch in pitchers counts, not leaving the ball over the plate, not hanging pitches when you have a 1-2 or an 0-2 count, putting guys away when you have that advantageous count, not walking leadoff men or not walking the 9 hitter in front of the best hitters in the other team's lineup. Little things like that. The stuff is good, but just pitching, learning how to pitch to MLB hitters and learning how to pitch at the MLB level. And I feel like Cade, even just watching from the stands, and I know you can dig into the data to back this up, but you can see him making these strides and just getting better in these areas as he has gone on in the year. And for a guy that was the Cubs' top prospect, is young, and someone you're hoping is anchoring this rotation for years to come, the way he has developed throughout this year is exceptional, Brendan. And kind of like the way we talked about PCA breaking out, it's not necessarily to that level, but it's a really important thing for this franchise that you potentially have an under control, young, high-flying prospect that moved fast through your system, performing really well at the MLB level and setting himself up to be a staple in this rotation.
Yesterday's start, he threw a strike in 84% of his pitches. For a minimum of 65 pitches, that is the highest strike percentage in the league. This is a rookie, right? Learning on the fly, as you said, developing new pitch types. When he was coming up through the system, we heard about the cut right fastball. We heard about the sweeper, but he's going about his business by layering on new pitch types or refining pitch types he was working on over the past 2 years pre-injury last year. That sweeper he threw yesterday, only in 10% of his pitches. He threw a sinker in 15% of his pitches. He flashed a changeup as his most used off-speed or breaking pitch. Then it was a sweeper, and then it was a curveball. So it's a diverse pitch mix from a developing rookie. Now that sinker, I want to highlight the sinker. So if we look at what that pitch has looked like, one of the questions I asked before we did this podcast was, what pitch type is looking the most different? Can we find anything that stands out that Cade is using differently and that looks different? And when you look at the four seam, it looks basically the same. When you look at the sweeper, it looks basically the same. The one pitch type that does look different is the sinker, and you're seeing the frequency of usage go up. So in July and August, using it about 8% of the time. Again, yesterday, 15%. Before that was around 1 to 2% in games. So he's really relying more, relatively speaking, on the sinker to right-handed batters. The pitch looks different in that it has less vertical break, and the spin axis is a little different as well. So when I asked the computer, hey, find me the most different features of all these pitch types, those were the two that stood out. Now you can see on the left, he's hammering that sinker low and inside to right-handed batters. We talked dating back to 29 sinkers, more elevated or up and in to right-handed batters. In this case, he's throwing it down and in. Over each start, as on the right, you see each dot is one start, or rather one sinker. You can see that the blue pitches on the top right, that represents more carry. So the pitch is elevating more, and it has a different type of spin axis to it. Actually has a little bit more run to it. This sinker he's been throwing actually resembles more of like a straighter sinker, and he's able to perhaps rely on this, get a better feel, locate it to where he wants to go, and it's not carrying as much. So in a way, it's like a straighter sinker than he had. And it almost resembles, again, it's not his four-seam fastball, but it's closer to that shape than it was to his changeup about 3 to 4 weeks ago. The next few traits that we want to see stand out from Cade is continuing to rely on that sinker in strike counts. I would like to see him elevate that sinker a little bit more, but then again, maybe that's intention. I would also like to see the fastball elevate a little bit more. We did see that last start, by the way. I think anecdotally his highest used fastball in the strike zone all year. When he misses down. And I would like to see those misses not missed down as frequently, but when he misses, it's in the strike zone and his pitch types are so good, it's generating weak contact. It's been surprisingly incredible, frankly, how fast he's developed this year when they needed him the most. I cannot even imagine where this rotation would be without Cade Horton this year.